Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Profit Minds podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Stan Kirch, creator of the Profit Minds Growth System, a unique blend of profit growth, productivity acceleration, and building robust business process for scale. In every episode, I interview entrepreneurs and small business owners from around the world with a unique story to tell. You can find the show on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple and Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and more. Well, hi, everyone. Today, my guest is Stan Collesano, a retired attorney, entrepreneur, speaker, business coach, and consultant of the SL consulting firm. Today, we'll be talking about building a world-class company. Welcome, Stan.
Thank you, Steve. How are you today?
I am doing great. Just life is so good.
It is. I'm so
we have so
glad
much to be thankful for.
Yep, as we're approaching Thanksgiving.
Yes. So, this is the way I start every episode. It's, tell me your story. How did you get to this place where you are, as a former attorney, maybe still an attorney, but not practicing and all that. So what's your story?
Sure. Well, many years ago, I was told 1 + 1 = 2. And that was given to me by my parents. If you follow a certain path, you'll have a certain result. And my dad moved me into law. He guided myself and one of my other brothers, and we started practicing law. One morning, it was about 2 a.m., I woke up in a cold sweat, and I thought, I missed a deadline, and sat there for about 10, 15 minutes having an argument in my brain as to whether I should get up and go to the office and check. And I went out. I ended up driving to the office at about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, grabbed my file, and I looked, and I thought, I did not miss the deadline. It's next Wednesday. It wasn't the day before. So there was a brief moment of relief there. And at the time, I was about 36 years old. I was a managing partner of a 12 support staff law firm. And I thought, I can't do this anymore. There's got to be a better way for me to go about living my life without these deadlines constantly looming over me. What I found was that I enjoyed running the business of a law firm far better than I did actually practicing law. So like many entrepreneurs, I decided I'm going to jump. I'm going to leave the practice of law and I'm going to start my own business, like so many entrepreneurs do. And boy, you get bloody and beat up along the way, but there is that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And from that day, I created SL consulting firm, which I operate now and help many people jump as well. And I also own 3 other companies.
Oh, wow. So we'll spend a little bit of time talking about those too. But one of the things that's important in consulting, right? As you said, you help businesses take a leap and start their own business. So what does that look like? Do you have a process that you use that's really helpful for those wannabe entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I do. So what I recommend for anybody, whether you want to take that jump, whether you're currently in a business now and you're trying to move to the next level and scale your business, is I recommend every day, or I shouldn't say every day, maybe 3 to 4 times a week, sit in a room with no distractions, pad of paper and a pencil, and write your thoughts and your dreams down and start to develop them from there. And then once you come up with your idea and your dreams, start with the end. Where do you want to be as a business owner, as a person in life? Where do you see yourself when it comes time to retire? Are you going to work in your business until you die? Are you going to sell it to someone? Are you going to give it to your children? What is your exit plan? And then we'll work backwards and we'll figure out how to get you there. After you find the end, then let's start with the beginning. Let's have an outcome statement. Let's have a business plan to take those dreams and ideas and get you to the end, to where you want to be.
Yeah, that's so important. Let's begin with the end in mind, and really understanding the why are you doing this. I think you mentioned the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and so many of us, when we start down this entrepreneurial journey, seem to think that that's just going to magically appear.
Yeah.
Well, it's
No.
not. It's a lot of work, and you need to be clear on why you're doing this, and it's more important than, and probably more important than the money aspects or the financial aspects of it is, what kind of life do you want to live?
Exactly. I mentioned earlier, when you make that jump, you get bloody, you get beat up, you hit the rocks, you fall, you fail, but you get up again and you continue to move forward to get to that goal. And you said, where do you want to be? I can tell you today, 15 plus years later, I don't wake up worrying about deadlines. I create my own deadlines now. And I'm not a slave to that process anymore. And that was the life I wanted to lead. I didn't like it. I had 3 young children, and waking up in that cold sweat. I used to take the long way to work. That night, I took the fastest way I could get there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so something else you said, about, again, you start with the end, right? But then go back to the, and let's look at that a little bit, because the other thing that you said was, the exit plan. I mean, one of my favorite statements to make to a small business owner is that every small business owner eventually exits his or her business.
Correct.
That's always going to happen.
And that's right.
It may be in a plain pine box.
We hope not.
But would be better if it were slightly planned, right? Or
That's
better
right.
planned than that, right?
Right.
So what are those? How does that impact what it is that you do, and when you work with those entrepreneurs?
So really, we have to look at their goals and their ambitions and their dreams. Everybody has a dream to build a business. And in today's world, opportunities arise so quickly. So you have a dream and you want to fulfill your dream. And what is that? Is it to put your kids through college? Is it so that you can retire on a beach, or travel around the world? So it's going to take something to get to that end. None of us want to work until we are put in that pine box. That's not the goal. So we'll focus on that. What do we need to achieve during the life of this business to get us to the end, to where we want to be? So we'll start with looking at those dreams, those desires, those goals. Again, maybe it's $5 million in the bank account. Maybe it's put your kids through college. Maybe it's whatever. And then we'll go to the beginning and start to figure out how to get to those end points that you so cherish and desire.
So how do you help them build a sustainable and profitable business?
Well, each business takes its own unique shape and form. So we'll have to look at really what product or service do you provide to society. And that product or service should create value to someone. There has to be value there. And if we're creating value, your company, then your product and service becomes relevant. And if it's relevant, then we can actually look at how we can go about charging society for your product and or service. And that cost inherently creates a margin, which creates profit, which puts pennies in your pocket. So we'll look at each business on its own. We'll look at the market that it's in and what value it can provide that is different than the value or services that others in that market are producing. In the end, what we don't want is a drive of price down. We don't want to become a commodity. When we become a commodity, then it's the lowest price wins. And the greatest example I always give is just think of the insurance industry. Everybody's always looking for the least expensive car insurance. And you can go online and you can talk to many people. That industry really fights the commodity aspect. So whatever your business is, whether you're selling, the great widgets that we always learned about in law school, has to provide some value, and we need to flesh out what that value is so that you create relevance, and then you can charge a reasonable price for that product or service.
So we started off today with the introduction, talking about, how to build a world-class company. So what is it about your approach that makes for a world-class company?
So I think there's a couple things. I think when you look at a company, there's many factors: creating a great culture, providing value and service, keeping the customer in mind and giving the customer what they want. So I will look at all aspects of a business from your expenses. Are we operating in a lean fashion, efficiently, effectively, giving our employees the proper tools needed so that they can perform their job at an optimal level? And then we'll look at things above the line, as I mentioned, value, relevance. Can we charge a reasonable price, all to create more pennies in the owner's pocket? We'll look at the executive team. Are they performing optimally? Are they allowing the business owner to simply make decisions rapidly, quickly, and given the freedom to do so? So in essence, it's almost taking a surgical knife to a company and looking at every aspect.
That's an awful lot of things to keep track of.
If you're a business owner, you need to keep track of it all. And that's what ultimately creates that world-class company.
Okay. And what about the financial aspects of the business, right? How do you understand the financials? How do you help a small business owner get a handle on that?
Sure. So one of the greatest tools that they use is a profit and loss statement. I think it's somewhat outdated. I don't necessarily know if it tells you everything you need to know about your business, right? How many times have you heard that, well, it shows that I have a $500,000 profit, but I don't have any cash in the bank. I can't pay my bills, right? We hear that all the time. So what I like to do with a profit and loss statement is kind of move some things around and take a look at expenses and take a look at our suppliers and pull in data that we can pull in every day from the Department of Labor and Statistics and look at what's the average price of a particular item and what am I paying compared to that average price. And I can look at it nationally, regionally, and in some instances, statewide within my industry. And now I can start to have a benchmark of, am I paying too much for something? Or am I right on target? Or am I actually getting away with paying some discount because of some method that I'm using? Maybe I'm buying in bulk, or maybe I'm using suppliers that can get it to me quicker. So if we're not looking at that financially, dollars are going out of the door. And every dollar that comes in, and I break it down into $1. And when $1 comes in, where does every penny go? My hope is that as a business owner, we put more of those pennies in the business owner's pocket than we do for expenses. So we will actually break down expenses with a client, and I'll look to see if they're operating efficiently and effectively. There will be certain benchmarks that we'll use with percentages from month to month, quarter to quarter, or year to year to see if it's fluctuating in the same proportion as our revenue that is coming in. So there are many factors that I'll look at with that statement to see if we're operating efficiently.
Okay. Yeah. So benchmarking is an important part of how you do that to make sure that you're working, um, close to the benchmarks or better than the benchmarks.
Yeah, we always hope to be better than the benchmarks. When we're not, it's a red flag, and it just indicates that we need to dig a little deeper. Simple example: revenue goes up 20%, and one particular material that I used to help create revenue goes up, I'm going to say 40% in 1 year. Well, I really need to drive down and dig into that. Does it mean that we're wasting that material on the job? Does it mean that inflation has caused that material to drastically increase? Or hopefully not. Are my employees stealing the material? So it kind of helps with those benchmarks to see where we slide in compared to the industry average or the industry daily average to determine whether we're doing a good job, not so good job, or a bad job.
Okay. And what's your approach to coaching? When you engage with a client, what does that look like?
So generally, I'll deal with your executive team or the business owner, CEO, and again, start with the end. Where are we going? What position is the company in now? And how are we going to get the company from where you are today to where you want it to be? Whether it's scaling, whether it's, again, whatever those desires and dreams are at the end of the road. And then from there, we'll create the outcome statement. We'll assemble the executive team and make sure the executive team is on board with all of those goals and that every oar in the ship is rowing in the same direction at the same time. That could be a function of a cadence of quick, regular meetings, and just monitoring reports as they come in and allowing the CEO to be the CEO and run an effective company.
Okay. Yeah. So are there particular kinds of businesses? I mean, you came out of the legal profession, but are there particular kinds of businesses that are really ideal for you and the way you approach this?
I get asked that quite often, and it kind of ruffles my feathers a little bit, and it's just my own personal feelings. I believe my process can help any company that wants to scale, improve, start. My process, I guess the best way to say a car is a car, and you know how it works, and I know how a business works, and I can get any industry to move. There are times I'll do a little bit more research on a specific industry that I'm not completely familiar with, but it all starts from the top. It all starts from the president, the CEO, the business owner. And then from there, I like to say, I take a car and make it a race car.
So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, Stan, what's the best way to reach out?
Well, they can email me at stan@slconsultingfirm.com. That is my email. That is probably the best way to reach me.
Okay. Thanks. And that concludes our show. Thanks to my guest, Stan Collesano, a retired attorney, entrepreneur, speaker, business coach, and consultant of the SL Consulting Firm. I hope you learned something about building a world-class company. Thanks for listening. You've been listening to the Profit Minds podcast. This is your host, Dr. Stephen Kirch. Please visit www.profitminds.net for other episodes or to contact me. Thank you for your positive feedback, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others. Thanks for listening. Have a grateful day.